All right. What is up, brothers and maybe sisters? This is also a not specific to one gender. So, 3 weeks ago, I posted a video talking about why I went plant based, 5 reasons I went plant based. Had a lot of comments on there asking for advice, right? Asking for evidence. There was some debating, which I always love, as long as it's controlled and civil. So, I decided on my group call today, I was breaking down to my guys some of the science because a lot of them are plant based, a lot of them maybe 90% plant based, but all on a generally plant based diet. And they talk about their experience in this group call as well. So I decided to record it, gave the full presentation. A lot of science with this one, right? This one I don't get into the woo woo stuff. I keep it scientific. I use evidence, and you'll find that in the debate, right, whether it's primal bro versus vegan or Mediterranean, whatever it may be, you'll find people who are against the plant-based diet. They talk so much about data until you ask for actual data. You ask for actual solid evidence. And usually you can't find any solid evidence that an optimized plant-based diet is not optimal for health, performance, all the above, right? So today I go over many things, including amino acids, protein sources, myths, nutrient potential deficiencies, where plant-based excels in nutrients, cardio, real-world examples. I use it all. So if you're already plant-based, mostly plant-based, or thinking about making the switch, then this video will help you get a full understanding of the diet, right? So with that being said, the actual presentation starts at 6. I went ahead and left the beginning of the group call where we talk about the tribe wins because we do give some advice on cold approaching, right? Talking to women, just overall confidence. So if you want to hear those stories, that's great. If you want to just go straight to the presentation, go to about 6 minutes in this video. And yeah, guys, comment with any concerns, questions, debates if you have any. I always love engaging in civil debates. If you stray away from logic, I will not engage anymore, but I'll stop yapping and let's go ahead and get going on this one. Peace.
Or stop by. I was driving by.
That's I think that's
Maybe not tomorrow.
bias. I
Yeah,
I,
tomorrow
I
we're
know you're
working on
saying I know you're saying that because you see him on your one-on-one angel. We'll keep it between us, right?
it.
Why you gotta go? Is it just bedtime, Pablo?
Yeah, it's very late.
All right,
Need to
we'll
wake up early. Yeah.
we'll see if the presentation is good enough to keep you. We'll see.
Uh, I'll
They're
be
always
like
good.
What's up?
5 to 10 minutes. I'll
Okay,
be
They're always good, Joey and Mike.
appreciate you.
always.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and get started. Okay, Mike. All right, you guys see my screen?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. We'll go ahead and get started. As always, with the wins of the week, I'll go first. So unfortunately, Flores isn't here. I'll tell him to watch the recording though. But breakthrough week for him, 10 out of 10 confidence. Just hit it. Started at about a 5 to 6 when we first started, and so 5 to 6 point jump in just 13 weeks. Reason being is, he's been attacking the method. He's been attacking it each week. It's like, okay, every pillar. He's like, what can I do next? What can I do next? And now we're moving over to content. And this week he posted 2 YouTube, 5 reels, 6 to 8 stories a day, while also going to school, getting high attraction from women, always telling me stories there because the aura is so strong, and then just feeling alpha in all areas. So Flores, guys, is a great example of what happens when you implement the method and then take this newfound energy that you have, this abundance, and put it into a purpose, right? And I know some of you guys are doing this right now already, but it kind of compounds on top of what you're already doing, and creates like a even stronger aura. Great job, you, man. I know you're not here, but we're all really proud of you.
Good job, Flores. And yeah, guys, like Joe said, you take that's the whole point of the method is that right now, I made a video on this the other day, but you guys are focusing on focus on yourselves. Spend your energy that you have transforming yourself. As you get far along in the method, you have an excess of energy, then you can put that into purpose and helping others. All right, and that's what really is going to fulfill you. Like the confidence, if you just do the method for yourself and you get the confidence and eventually you get a girl, it's like, okay, but like if you just leave it there, you're gonna get stagnant. You're gonna be stuck. You gotta keep progressing, find ways to go. So typically, you gotta find a way to help others. So I know some of you guys have been talking about that. I know Chad's gonna get into personal training soon. That'll be lit.
Yes, sir.
Um,
One.
so for wins of the week for me, biggest one was definitely Pablo. The Netherlands boys crushing it this week. Pablo smashed the barrier. What do I mean by that?
Oh,
So Pablo, one of the reasons he started and one of his main goals was that he did not have any confidence or ability whatsoever to approach, especially women. He wanted to approach women he was interested in. And this week, he did, after doing the whole exposure program, building his way up with conversations and getting more confident socially, he cold approached a girl for the first time. It was a big milestone what he was trying to accomplish. So
Huge.
I know a lot of you other guys are working on that as well in this call. So Pablo, congrats, bro. You have any advice for the guys who are trying to get to
Yeah,
that
so yeah, so thank you. 1 minute short story, I guess.
Sure. Go ahead.
So I'm 21 years old and I've struggled with stuttering, social anxiety like my whole life. And the reason why I went on this method was basically to like get more uh to get better at approaching girls because I've never done that before. So I'm now at like week 9 of the social exposure, uh, and this like like I felt very good doing like walking around at the university library, and I just went for it, and I'm so happy that I got this. Like, yeah,
Yeah, the main thing is like when he approached the girl, it wasn't even like he didn't even ask her out. It was really just to have a conversation. So I know a lot of you guys on this call who
Yeah.
are working on that, who I advise you go for girls you have don't really have interest in. Just have a conversation, spread positivity, say hello, right? So um and don't ask them out at the end. Just say, all right, have a good day, spread positivity, all right? And then afterwards it's a positive experience. Pablo, how did you feel after you did that? Oh,
very
amazing,
good.
right?
Like, best day of my life,
Hey.
honestly.
There you go.
Yeah,
And that's how you feel anytime you guys go in and
yeah,
accomplish something that was difficult that was holding you back. So
yeah.
overcome that anxiety, obviously become better socially, something we're all working on. I know a lot of you guys are doing really well with that. So good job, Pablo. Bonus,
Thank you.
Angel. Got a bonus one in the league for Angel. Not anything in particular, just I saw him in person and I was like, we've only ever seen him through the phone the face cam, and I was like, dang, like he actually looks a lot like even better in person. So I
Facts.
was like, dang, like
Daddy.
I told him, I was like, bro, you look like way more handsome, way more in shape than I thought I even could see through the camera. So it made me just that much more, and Jack too. His arms looking crazy. So it made me that much more excited for his continuous transformation and him accomplishing his goal of having a family. So that much more confident in it and excited. So uh, that's for Angel.
Oh yeah, Angel. I want to make one quick comment on like the approaching is Mike is right where it's like don't expect anything out of it. The reason, we can have a conversation with a guy and it will feel so fluent and so easy is because there's no pressure on you, right? When you create the internal pressure of, oh, I need to make her like me or oh, I need to, get a date with her or get her number, that immediately turns on, okay, if I fail, there are consequences. If you fail, there's no consequences in reality besides the one you put in your own head, which is that I expect something out of this interaction, right? Expect nothing, just like an interaction with a guy. Of course, you could talk differently, talk about different things with women than guys sometimes, but still, right? Keep that pressure off of yourself and just focus on having a connection. So awesome.
Spreading
Great.
positivity.
Yep.
That's
Great job, guys. Super proud of all you guys. Okay. So today we are talking about plant-based diet, right? I know some of you got most everyone here is heavily plant-based. Pretty much some of us are fully, others are, a majority. So you guys have experienced the benefits, right? You've experienced the benefits that I'm about to list. However, as you know, in culture nowadays, there's a lot of talk about primal. You'll see if you're even on social media or even the government now, they changed the food pyramid to put red meat at the top of the food pyramid, right? Problem with this is that number one, it's not healthy for you, and number two, studies give zero evidence backing up that this is a healthy way to live, which is consuming a lot of these products, right? And so a lot of times, if you're plant-based and people ask you why, they might, you should be equipped with the tools and knowledge to be able to rebuke false information, right? So that's one aspect that I want you guys to take away from this. The other one is just knowing for yourself, right? You guys probably not going to be with me and Mike till the day you die. If you do, great. Otherwise, you guys should be able to know where you're getting your amino acids from, like where you actually need to fill the gaps with supplements or nutrition, and why, you know, people say things. People say you're deficient on a plant-based diet, etc. Right? So all this information is super important to be equipped with for your own life and when talking to other people about the diet, right? So pay attention there. So it's going to be this is the most scientific one we've used. Reason being is because the science is where we find facts. That's how we find data, right? We have anecdotal data of how do we feel when we do a diet, and then we have the actual data, the scientific data of what's going on underneath. right? So we'll do a little bit of both. So why go plant-based? It's going to be this. I put this here is because I made a video on this. If you guys want to watch it, you can watch it on my YouTube. But it's going to be better cardio, spiritual welfare, animal welfare, longevity, and discipline, right? Right when you go plant-based, you're going to get a big boost in cardiovascular endurance. Both me and Mike experienced this. I literally PR'd a week after going plant-based on my run because I just felt so clean. I'll explain why later in the video or in the call. Number two is going to be spiritual welfare, right? That means for yourself. Not only when you go plant-based are you not killing animals, but you're not putting those dead animals inside of your body, guys, right? Food it has a vibration. It's moving at all times, right? And when you ingest that death, that suffering, that cortisol, that's not great for your spirit. That's why you'll find all like the Ayurvedic Eastern traditions who are very in tune with the spirit. If they are going on a spiritual journey or a trying to achieve spiritual growth, they'll keep the meat out of the diet because it's death. You're consuming death and suffering of another individual. So that's also just hugely beneficial for your own life. Three, animal welfare, of course, right? I don't think anyone here wants to harm animals unnecessarily. Doesn't, if we could say, hey, I can eat this diet where I harm animals, this diet where I don't, all else equal, I'm going to choose not harming animals, right? That's pretty clear. So by not consuming animals, you're directly not paying for them to be slaughtered, tortured, etc. Of course, the better source you get, the better, but still, this is huge. Next, longevity. Blue zones, data, all of it shows that an optimized plant-based diet and a Mediterranean diet are going to be the best for long-term health outcomes, right? We got last one is discipline. Now, this one's more for some than other. I bet Mike can attest to this, that it doesn't take much discipline to be vegan anymore, partly because this right here, when we see that picture, we're not like yummy at all. But you are sacrificing your instant gratification of pleasure of meat for all of these things, right? So you do get a discipline boost there, some more self-control. And yeah, the diet overall is not restrictive, right? A lot of people will be like, wait, are you allowed to eat XYZ? I'm allowed to eat anything I want. I choose to eat this way because it's better for all of these things, right? So we're just selecting the best things for our overall health, animal welfare, spiritual welfare, etc. All right. So I can go, the video was like 20 minutes long. I can go deep into that, but that's just a quick summary.
One thing I want to add about the discipline thing is that really like that obviously we want to be disciplined. No, everyone wants to be disciplined with their diet, whether they're vegan, omnivore, or whatever it is. But one thing, because a lot of people who they're not even on the self-improvement path like us, um, that I want to convey, just that you don't have to like become disciplined if you want to go plant-based. Like it you can have ice cream. You can have like meat that tastes just like meat. You can have pretty much everything. Like today, what did I have? I had chicken nuggets and ranch. I'm on vacation, so I don't have like my normal like stuff. I had chicken nuggets with ranch, and it was plant-based. And it tasted exactly like chicken nuggets and ranch did before. Last night, I went out with my wife. We were in Florida, and there was a Ben and Jerry's. We went in. You know what we had? Chocolate chip cookie dough ice cream that tasted exactly like normal chocolate chip cookie dough ice cream. So it's like really, if you wanted to, it doesn't really take discipline. It just takes a selection. You just choose, oh, you want ice cream? Okay, just choose this one. Tastes the exact same. So I just want to get that point across is that I feel like for people who want to advocate for plant-based to the general population who's not super into being the best version of themselves like we are, they'll hear that and say, well, I can't give up all my foods. That's my main enjoyment of life. It's like, actually, you don't have to. You still can enjoy all those unhealthy foods if you want, just and still get the other benefits of being plant-based.
Right. You'll hear a lot. I could never go vegan after you tell them. And it's because there's this misconception, this preconceived notion that you're sacrificing so much when there's replacements and the diet's delicious and you feel amazing. So yeah, like Mike said, it's not really that much of a sacrifice.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mike.
Sorry, guys.
Go
I'm
ahead.
going.
All right, Pablo.
Say, Pablo.
Much love.
Yes. Much love. Thank
We'll
you.
I'll put this recording in the chat for you to watch the rest.
Yes, thank you.
The transition. You guys have experienced this, some of you more than others. In the first couple weeks, right, you will have increased energy, increased bowel movements and gas, right? This is not a short-term benefit, I would say. Most people don't prefer this, but it is a long-term benefit. Your body is essentially cleansing itself, the increase in fiber, the bowel movements are good. You do not want stool in your system. You want it to be passing, you want it to be moving. So it's just a change in gut microbiome. If you convince anyone to go plant-based, you can explain this to them, and that's normal and it's good. And then meat cravings, right? meat, flesh, blood, it gives us a certain dopamine, which is why so many people get like flustered around the topic or feel like giving it up is the hardest thing ever, is because there's a chemical addiction to to meat, right? So maybe in those first couple weeks, you'll have the dopamine, the dopamine will still be addicted, but after a while, after a couple weeks, maybe a month, it's gone, right? I know Mike can attest to this. I don't crave it at all anymore. However, when you switch, right, you want to give yourself motivation, give yourself reasoning. Not only that, but also learn, right? And so these are all the documentaries. If you haven't watched, I recommend you watch. And if someone is going plant-based, have them watch these, right? This Game Changers for Performance goes over different athletes, Olympic athletes, strength athletes who are completely 100% plant-based, and goes into their story and how they perform. And they all realize improvements from going plant-based. There's also some science data in there too. This is health, right? So just goes straight into the data of the health outcomes of a plant-based diet, which is phenomenal. Ethics, this one's probably the most powerful one. This is the one that'll really hit. This is like the best motivation for going vegan right here. This is, just the reality of the factory farming. And some people will say, oh, this is just looking at the worst of it. No, it's not. You look up the laws of the humane, ethical way in countries to treat animals in factory farms, and it's the exact practices they use in these videos, right? Including slamming a baby pig in its head on a concrete if it's deemed unprofitable, right? That's the ethical way, to grab by its hind legs and hit against the concrete. Things like that, which is just, okay, we realize that as most humans don't want to be paying for another person to do that to a baby pig, right? So that one's super powerful. And then environment conspiracy here. This one gets pretty deep. It's pretty crazy what this stuff actually does to environment. With a combination of all of these, if you actually watch them, it's hard to not have strong conviction to be plant-based. So there's there. And then after 2 to 6 months, you fully adapt as far as digestion, cravings, everything, and you're eating the best diet. You're feeling the best. If you have an optimized plant-based diet, right? If you are eating the correct foods. So you can tell here, my aura is insane, so much higher. My physique is slightly better. Of course, I was strength training along the way, but I'm just feel more light, more spiritually fulfilled, and my conscious knows that I'm not, harming animals, which is nice, right? So that's the transition. Okay, let's get into soy. You guys will hear this. This is probably the biggest, like the strongest one, especially immature men use, is that soy increases estrogen. Complete myth. Zero credible human clinical studies have demonstrated that. Zero, like none, right? What has demonstrated it is one medical case. So there was a guy who had probably, I forgot the disease he had, or high estrogen or something, and then he cut out soy and he found his estrogen went down drastically. They had one case like this, and then for the rest of history since then, people have stuck onto that and said it was because of the soy decrease, right? And however, you take studies with hundreds of thousands of people, millions of people, and you find no correlation to increased estrogen and soy consumption, right? So this is what the primal community has latched on to, which is not actual evidence at all. And then amplification online, of course, because a lot of people don't like the plant-based uh, agenda because it shows them what's possible, right? It's okay to eat animals. People think it's okay to eat animals if they need them, right? If they say, hey, soy increase estrogen, I can't get my protein from soy, I need to eat meat, they're gonna try to push that through, right? But it doesn't take a lot of research to just realize that it doesn't, right? So this is a clinical study, 41 meta-analyses, 41 studies including analysis. This is how many men was in there, and it showed no change, zero change, right? Neither soy protein or isoflavone exposure affects testosterone, free testosterone, or estrogen in men, right? At all. Out of 41 meta-analyses, right? You could break down each one of those themselves, but that's just complete proof, guys, right? However, soy doesn't just not increase estrogen, it gives you all of these things. Soy is a superfood, increases muscle growth and recovery, supports heart health. This is all backed up by science. Hormone neutral, does not lower testosterone or feminize in men, right? It can actually balance. It's very minimal balancing, but that's what the actual phytoestrogens do. Rich in micronutrients, great for your gut, highly versatile and efficient. You can put it in almost any food. You can, soy milk is great. You can have silken, firm tofu, season it, do whatever you want with it, just like meat, kind of, except it's a little more versatile, right? Cost efficient, about $1 to $3 per pound, right? For like 50 to 70 grams of protein. So it truly is just a phenomenal food, and the myths don't survive the evidence. So here also, if you look here, if anyone ever says, vegans have lower testosterone, false, right? This is a randomized controlled trial, I believe. Hold on, I have a lot of studies, that's why I forgot. But they found that from 51 male vegans to 57 omnivores of similar age, Free T concentration was estimated by calculation in comparison with the omnivores. The vegans had 7% higher total T, higher testosterone, 23 higher sex hormone binding globulin. Now, I wouldn't go around and say, oh, your test is going to get higher if you go vegan, because it ends up balancing out with, let's see. So it causes a substantial increase in sex hormone binding globulin, but has little effect on free T or E2. So it's not going to increase your total usable testosterone, but it's not going to bring it down at all. So it has, if anything, it's not a significant effect. What is a significant effect, though, is if you have excess body fat or excess saturated fat in your system. So it's just, it doesn't survive the myth that veganism lowers testosterone, right?
It's mainly about getting the proper micronutrients that you need and calories that you need. Um, if you're eating 3,000 calories a day of steak and French fries, you're gonna feel better than if you're eating 500 calories a day of tofu. Like,
Right.
you're gonna feel better because you don't have the nutrients that you need. So same thing with reverse. So the main point that we're making here, it's while yes, we do believe that plant-based diets are healthier by far, and more evidence is shown beyond just testosterone that there are many health benefits. The main point is that it 100% is not worse in any way than
Exactly.
having an omnivore diet, and therefore the argument that, oh well, we need meat to be healthy is eradicated.
Correct.
So that's the main point, is that to eradicate that argument, that we need meat.
Correct. And I would say that if you like an optimal diet, if I'm saying I want to optimize my health, yeah, and I'm being completely unbiased here, a 90% plant-based diet or 100% plant-based diet, but you can have, having a little bit of lean fish in your diet is not going to harm your health at all, right? It's got good omega fats, it's got, low saturated fat, and so you can be completely healthy that way too. Like Mediterranean diets show great health outcomes, but a primal diet of heavy red meat, right, heavy dairy is going to be very negative for your health, right?
Sure.
So you can be, but moral of the story is Mike is saying you can be completely optimal eating plant-based diet. All right. So next, let's get into amino acids, and I really want you guys to understand this. This is an essential like understanding, not just for yourself, but also to tell other people. But this is a huge lesson, right? This is essentially what protein is. So, hold on, I'm minimizing my screen. Okay. Amino acids, right? They're the building blocks of the protein. Our muscles are made up of 20 amino acids, right? 9 of these amino acids are essential, right? That's why they're called EAAs. You guys have probably heard of the supplement. A complete protein is considered, right here, is considered something that contains all 9 essential amino acids in sufficient amounts for the body to function properly, right? So if a protein can fully support muscle repair, growth, and overall protein synthesis on its own, it is considered a complete protein, right? Every single protein has all the amino acids, but it has to have a certain amount to where on its own it can support protein synthesis, right? So that's a complete protein. And then here is the caveat, right? So a lot of animal protein is, so pretty much all meats are complete proteins, right? Meaning that they can promote muscle protein synthesis on their own. A lot of plant proteins are not complete proteins. However, you don't need a complete protein to get the muscle. What you need is over the course of your day to get the sufficient EAAs, which is very hard not to get if you have just a basic variety of plant foods, right? And
And
study.
there's many complete plant proteins.
Correct. But it's also you don't have to obsess and say, oh, my proteins need to be complete plant protein sources. No, across the day, you just need to have enough amino acids, and you're good, right? And this is shown, this is proven. This study here, well-balanced vegan diet does not compromise daily mixed muscle protein synthesis rate when compared with an omnivorous diet in active older adults. Randomized control crossover trial. And this is just one. I did a lot of research for this presentation, guys. I found dozens that prove this to be true, right? Considering you are eating a well-planned plant-based diet, right? So, and like I said, has a stronger animal protein has stronger per meal anabolic signal. And then yeah, I just stated that. Okay, so what you want to do is you want at least 1 to 2 high quality sources daily. Like for me, if you guys follow me on Instagram, you see my meals. I'll have my protein powder with my oats. Oats are a great source of protein actually too. They have like 9 grams a serving. Excuse me. And then I'll have my seitan with rice and veggies, right? I eat that every single day, basic 7, 8, 9 ingredients, and I get all of my micronutrients, all of my amino acids met. And if you guys see my physique, it's working out okay for me, right? Simple as that. And so in each of your meals, and me and Mike plan this for you, you want like at least a complete protein in there, right? And it's not hard to do whether you're meat-based or plant-based. So that's as far as amino acids go.
I would say that what you put there covers all amino acid concerns.
Right
Not
here.
most. Yeah, you said this alone covers most amino. I would say that it's always a complete protein, so that
Yeah,
covers
yeah, but
all.
I'm saying like over the course of it, over the course of like a day. Like if you just have like a serving of tofu, you still want more amino acids like to hit what your protein goal is.
Yeah, I feel you.
Makes sense. If you guys have any questions on that on the EAAs? No worries. Okay, so some basic plant protein cheat sheet, right? These are all high protein plant foods. Protein powder is not on here. That's a great one. As long as you get your protein powder from a good source, don't believe the BS, right? Protein powder is essentially just amino acids, right? The protein and the amino acids in there. Again, get it from a good source so you avoid the heavy metals that you may see in social media nowadays. So you guys can take a quick brisk of this. Nuts are great. Those are a little higher fat, so that's not going to be your main protein source. Seitan, that's me and Mike's probably favorite. Any form of tofu, including soy milk, tempeh, oats are great. This is actually the soy plant right here. Quinoa, black beans, etc. Right? Cool. Next, getting into cardio, right? So this is like just having better cardio is nice, right? That's cool. You get to hit the bag longer, you get to go on longer runs, you're going to be better in a fight, etc. But the downstream effect of that, right? The byproduct of that is when you have better cardio, it means your arteries are cleaner, right? You have better blood flow, right? Lower inflammation, nitrates, right? This is what happens when you have better cardio, right? And this is why you have better cardio. And so this will all happen on a clean plant-based diet, right? Studies back this up. So you get better blood flow because you have more nitric oxide from plants, which expands your blood vessels, more oxygen delivery. The higher carb intake means you have more glycogen, right? Me and Mike both tried carnivore. We felt like crap because we had no glycogen. Glycogen is our body's preferred source of fuel, right? And for endurance or strength, right? Ketones work too, but they're not preferred and they're not going to be as great for performance, all right? But it is a good backup, especially if you're in a calorie deficit. Lower inflammation. Plants have huge amounts of antioxidants. Vegans are shown to have way more circulating in their diet, which means faster recovery. And then the nitrates in plants also improve mitochondrial efficiency. Muscles use oxygen more efficiently, right? And so I don't know if you guys can attest to this in your own experience, but my cardio got a lot better, right? And I had my MMA fight or Muay Thai fight a couple months after I went plant based, and I was the only one to get an early finish because I was going the rounds, right? Of course, skill plays a factor, but into the second round, I was still wailing, hitting to where they had to stop the fight, right? Out of like 20 fights, the vegan guy that is the one who stopped the fight, right? So this is a meta-analysis of studies. This is a quote from it. Vegans often exhibit better cardio performance, including higher VO2 max and superior endurance, largely due to higher carbohydrates, enhancing glycogen storage. Plant-based diets provide high antioxidant intake, lower blood viscosity, and improve blood flow, which boosts endurance and recovery. Key findings indicate enhanced heart function and 25% longer time to exhaustion and test. That is a large amount, 25% increase, right? So next, getting into nutrients not abundant in
Matt,
plants.
that's real quick, Joe.
Yeah, go ahead.
And one of the reasons going back to the hormone, the reason that a lot of times plant-based will have higher SHBG is a little bit more carb intake because they don't have to have as many fats when consuming their protein like you do when you eat red meat, pork. You get a lot of fat in, so to keep calories equal, you can get less carbs proportionally. Higher carb diets um affect SHBG a little bit too, but are very important for athletic performance. Um, that's why you see there's many vegan plant-based Olympians, professional athletes,
Yep.
world record holders, strongmen, powerlifters, arm wrestling champions. You know what? There's not carnivore champions. There are basically no carnivore. The carnivore diet is the basically the trad influencer diet. That kind of goes like a antithesis to the plant-based diet, claiming that it's superior, and you will find basically no champion athletes following this diet because it is just simply awful. It
Awful.
is awful. Me and Joe did it for like 2 months. Worst I've ever felt in my life in terms of my performance and training.
If
Just
people, if
body
people,
needs carbs to
yeah, if
perform.
people report better performance, it's because they went from eating a bunch of processed food to having low calories and just burning fat because they were eating basically very low amounts of food, right? And Probably, essentially, you're going from shit diet to whole food diet, but still not optimal at all. Okay, next. So let's get into this. This is actually really important for you guys to know, right? Not just for debate purposes, just to know for yourselves, right? So nutrients that are not abundant in plants. Some of these are just not, there's not a lot of, others there's zero of, right? So vitamin B12, this is actually originally derived in grass. So it actually does come from plants and dirt, but it is not found in any of the edible plants you find in the supermarket, right? So and actually, a high majority of cows are supplemented this to get in their diet, just because this oil. If they're not grass fed, they are all supplemented to B12, right?
Meat does not make B12.
No,
Meat doesn't make nutrients. It
it's dirt.
just
It's dirt.
that's the reason that carnivores eat herbivores. Herbivores get nutrients from plants. That's the basis of nutrients. And carnivores eat their bodies, which are containing the nutrients. If the cow did not eat from the grass and get B12 from bacteria in the soil, that meat would not have B12. That's why they are supplemented with it. And having a
Correct.
supplement is not unhealthy.
Not unhealthy at all. In fact, this energy drink I have right here has 110% of my daily B12, right? So the lesson of that is not to supplement with an energy drink. The lesson of that is it's in things, right? I take a multivitamin, which has like 300% of my B12. Soy milk, a cup of that has the fortified one, the one that I like, the organic, the one that we recommend, has over 100% of your B12, right? B12 is abundant in fortified foods, and just take a multivitamin, guys. Simple as that. That's just a foundational layer, a blanket, making sure you're getting everything you need. Okay, creatine. Your body produces it. Meat has subtle amounts of utilizable creatine in it, but still, when I was eating meat, I still supplemented creatine because a creatine supplement is going to do way more than anything from a diet could do, right? So regardless, you guys should be supplementing this. This is not actually essential because our body produces it, but just for boosted performance, it's good for your brain. You should supplement this as well. And I have these down here. So, and then carnosine, right? These are things that are exclusive to meat, but your body creates it itself, right? And it creates it pretty efficiently. These are also not essential. They're not essential at all to get outside of your body. And there's, the downside of not getting them from animal-based foods, is studies show is very minimal, right? And so you're going to be completely fine without these things. Those are not essential nutrients to get. Vitamin D3, animal sources or sunlight. Sunlight is the best way to get this anyways, right? So in the winter, you are going to want to take a vitamin D3 supplement. In the summer, if you're outside all the time, you don't need it. Heme iron, only found in animal foods. Plants have heme iron. It's just less of it bioavailable, but still efficient. Nice thing is that we're guys. We don't have a monthly cycle, so we're not bleeding every month, which getting rid of iron. So for women, this is more of a concern, which there's ways to counteract it. But for men, your basic plant-based diet is going to have enough iron. And heme iron is actually too much of it is actually shown to a lot of negative health outcomes. So this is not a downside, really.
Yeah,
DHA,
real
go
quick,
ahead.
real quick. That's a big one that people like to say to justify continuing to eat meat is that the iron is not bioavailable. It's just slightly less absorbable in terms of the digestion. All that means is you just need slightly more. And how much do we need to more than hit the recommendations for an adult man? 2 cups of cooked spinach.
Hmm.
So that which is not once you cook it, that's nothing. You barely even notice that in your meal. That's all you need to put in to get more, even considering the slight, and it's not like it's even half as bioavailable. It's just slightly less. You're using like 30% more iron to hit the recommended amount, which can be achieved with 2 cups of cooked spinach alone. And in other plant foods, you'll also get that as you eat throughout the day. So the iron is a complete non-issue, even though people like to spout that a lot.
Again, for women, like say your girlfriend's vegan or something like that, and she has her levels tested, it's you want to just be a little more attentive to make sure you're getting that spinach or whatever it may be. But for us, we're a basic diet, you're covered. So the supplements that are pretty non-negotiable. I mean, I guess creatine is negotiable, but still, it makes a lot of sense to take it. Are going to be algae oil, a basic multivitamin, which most likely has your daily value of B12, and creatine, right? And this is my basic stack before and after I was plant-based. I just switched the algae oil with or the fish oil with algae oil, which fish oil the way fish get their omega-3s is actually through algae. So just
And again,
cutting the
it
middleman,
all comes from
right?
plants, all the nutrients.
Yeah, it all comes from plants, which makes sense. God gave us all the plants we need in the beginning, right? Without needing to eat animals. So thank you, sir. All
Genesis
right.
1:9.
Next, we got health benefits of plant-based diet. Now we're gonna have some fun. Okay. So lower saturated fat intake. And before I get into this, I do want to clarify that a omnivorous diet with modest amounts of meat, right, especially the healthier meats, is still you're going to be okay. You're going to be healthy, right? However, you have too much. This is where a lot of this comes in, and you're going to be better off with less. Okay, so lower saturated fat intake. Most plant foods are low in saturated fat, which means you're going to lower your LDL cholesterol and reduces cardiovascular risk. I'll get into cholesterol here, right? So this is a quote from this randomized control trial with 59,000 participants. Used a variety of interventions from providing all food to advice on reducing saturated fat. The included long-term trials suggested that reducing dietary saturated fat reduced risk of combined cardiovascular events by 21%, right? With 95 confidence interval. That's pretty strong confidence, right? There are dozens of other ones I used. I found ones that wasn't as strong confidence that was up to 45%. So I used this one. But it shows pretty on average 20 to 30% lower risk of CVD if you modestly lower your saturated fat or go on a plant-based diet, right? There's the article there. I don't want to waste time and I want to kind of get through this a little quicker. So next, dietary cholesterol. This is a huge thing that meat eaters, especially primal growers, will try to cling on. Oh, our brain needs cholesterol. Our brain is literally made of cholesterol. Yes, our body creates all the cholesterol we need completely. We don't need any from our outside sources. In fact, when we do get it from outside sources, our body down regulates its own natural production, right? So cholesterol is unnecessary. However, there is, it's like the debate is kind of like, okay, how bad is having cholesterol in your diet, right? How bad is it for you? So to give you guys a summary, here is what the risk is, right? So if you add 300 milligrams a day, and this was just adding some extra eggs into their diet, 1 to 2 extra eggs, with 300 milligrams a day, you had 17% higher cardiovascular disease risk, right? This is 30K people over 17 years. So this is an extremely strong study with strong evidence, right? Is a little bit of cholesterol going to kill you? No. Is it going to increase your risk of cardiovascular disease? Yes, right? And the thing is, if your risk of cardiovascular disease is higher, that also means your blood vessels are less clean and you have all of this, right? So meaning you're just feeling less light, etc. Right? Cardiovascular disease is the number one killer in the US, heart and cardiovascular disease. But for some reason, red meat is at the top of the pyramid now, right? Makes sense why the government gives 100x more subsidies to meat and dairy versus fruits and vegetables. So don't even have to get into that right now. But higher fiber intake. That's great, right? This is how important fiber is right here, right? Meta-analysis of 64 studies, 3.5 million subjects found that higher consumption of dietary fiber reduces the risk of all-cause mortality, cardiovascular disease, and cancer by up to 23%. Additionally, dietary fiber from whole grain cereals and vegetables was associated with a reduced risk of all-cause mortality, while dietary fiber from nuts and seeds reduced the risk of CVD-related death by 43%, right? Huge, guys. Right? This is why vegans live on average so much longer, right? The number one cause of death, cardiovascular and heart disease, when you eliminate the compounds in most animal products, you get this much lower of a chance of having those things happen to you. Okay. And you won't just live longer, you'll feel better too. Micronutrient density. So getting pretty, staying with the unbiased. So with micronutrient density, you have more fiber, polyunsaturated fatty acids, folate, vitamin C, E, and magnesium intake's higher. EPA is higher. DHA, or these were lower. DHA and EPA was lower in vegetarians. That's why we supplement it compared to meat eaters. Vitamin B12 was lower. That's why we have our multivitamin, vitamin D, all the things we talked about were generally lower. Nice thing about this is these were just lifestyle people. So they took like complete people who were just living a lifestyle, and like a lot of them were Asia without optimizing their diet, and they had lower of these. However, the diets that we eat here, we just make sure that everything's met up for, right?
So it's just an observational study. It wasn't a controlled experiment.
Right. It's an observational study, but what it shows is just that, hey, you're gonna have much more of this on a vegan diet. You're gonna have a little less of this, which I just discussed how to make up for in the last one, right? Better insulin sensitivity. Not going too deep in this. I don't want to keep it too long. Higher fiber equals lower saturated fat, which means improved glucose control and reduced risk of insulin resistance, right? That's phenomenal. A lot of plant-based foods are higher or lower calorie, higher volume, which means you get filled up more. Like, for example, vegetables, right? You can have fewer calories and be more full, which is why a lot of people lose weight on a vegan diet, which is usually their goal. Gut microbiome improvement. Fiber feeds the gut bacteria, digestion, immunity, mood, and hormone regulation is great with the increase in fiber, micronutrients, etc. Right? So that's the health benefits. Wait, you're muted, Mike.
You can still easily bulk on a plant-based diet too. There are many very calorie-dense foods that are plant-based as well.
100%. I mean, you got
Peanut
almond butter.
butter, yes, it's huge.
Cool. So real world examples, right? So that's the evidence. Or just real quick when I hit this, guys, it's like, so there is evidence saying, okay, meat helps with this in performance versus plant-based helps with this in performance, et cetera, X, Y, Z. Moral of the story, which Mike said again in the beginning, is that you can be completely optimized on a plant-based diet, right? That's the goal. You can have the best health on an optimized plant-based diet while without contributing to this without contributing to with contributing to animal welfare. Now, without even getting into the spiritual welfare, which is huge on a plant-based diet, right? And the longevity, that is less evidence-based and more anecdotal-based, which you guys have experienced Qigong, energy is a real thing, right? A lot of times Western medicine doesn't have the full picture on how to really live a thriving life. So those are other factors, but scientifically back prove evidence, a plant-based diet is optimal, right? If you do it right.
And we don't want to go too extreme in the sense that it's like we're saying, oh, like if you have any meat, like you're not gonna succeed. It's like obviously not. Like most professional athletes include meat in their diet, right? They have balanced diets. They're not carnivore or primal. They have balanced diets. You can perform very well on any diet that gets the macro and micronutrients of it, which both can be obtained through a plant-based diet or an omnivore diet. However, like Joe explained through this great presentation, if we want to fully optimize our long-term health and even our performance, plant-based, I do believe, and evidence shows, is going to be slightly better. And then that's before even getting into the spiritual and ethical side of things, of which there is no debate.
Correct.
So the point of this is to show that get the health before if you all you guys who are plant-based trying to convince people, you have to get the health and performance argument out of the way first because
Right.
that's what they will cling to as the reason why they have to contribute to something that is less ethical and spiritually lower.
And the funny thing is most people would agree, yeah, I don't want to be doing this to animals, but I have to, right? And so it's also helping people align with their own values, which is beneficial for all parties, right? And even me, Mike, that was why it took Mike a couple days to get me to try it because I thought I needed all this stuff, right? Once he showed me the evidence, I realized, okay, I don't need it. Okay, what's the justification? Can't really find one, so let me try the diet, and I felt great. Cam, I want to ask you because I know you cut out the animal products for a couple of weeks for your Daniel fast. And I mean, visibly, aura wise, you were glowing after. How did you feel spiritually when cutting out the animal products?
Yeah, I felt definitely really good. Just like cutting out everything in general, including the added sugars.
Right.
Like it was very different. My body was, I mean, here's what I'll say. I was doing it in a different way. Like it wasn't like a lifestyle thing for me. So I had a lack of a lot more than just the nutrients of what I was eating because I wasn't
Right.
like I was like
Fasted.
literally fasting. Yeah. So with that being said, like your boy was really tired, but my body wise, there were very, very huge physical changes in my body, which was really good. My gut was being like completely cleaned out, which was a blessing. My pastor mentioned something so funny, and this is he said like this shows like this is the type of stuff. This is why everyone should fast at some point in time is because like he was like, did you wonder how for some people they were doing an all juice fast where it was only liquids, and all the way up to day 21 they were still pooping, right? And it's like
Crazy.
it's crazy to think about the fact that your body has that much backed up in it. And for a lot of us, when we're just eating, just throwing a bunch of stuff in there, it's like that stuff adds up, and that's what causes. Well, I'm not a doctor, but I'm assuming that's what causes cancer and certain stuff, like your body not being able to get a refresh. So for me, it was great. I absolutely loved it. We're gonna be heading into another one this week.
Huge.
Uh,
Hey.
yeah, and this time around, doing the other one, it was very long, and like I said, I didn't have a plan, but this time around, I'm gonna actually like go into. I'm gonna pray about it. Um, my hope is that I can do fruits and veggies, specifically that type of um, eating structure, and then being able to incorporate the gym into that as well.
For sure.
Because last time I was like, I'm not eating enough to even go.
Yeah.
Now it's like, okay, I can control how much I eat, putting the right stuff in. Now let's see what the gym feels like during that.
Yeah. We'll talk more about that, but essentially, if you're in a strong calorie deficit with low protein, the goal is to kind of keep the muscles active and not focus on huge growth stimulus. We're not focused on breaking down and building back up muscles. We're focusing on keeping them primed, essentially. But we'll talk more about that on our one-on-one. Thank you.
What about any other guys who I know there's also some other good stories in here in this call of guys who switched to plant-based and your experiences. If any of you guys want to take a minute and share real quick.
I was actually, excuse me, I was actually surprised how easy it was for me because I used to think carnivore was kind of the way because I was looking at Sean Baker, Dr. Paul Saladino, and just
Same.
they look like rip jack guys, and I'm like, oh
Yep.
man, I got to give this a shot. It was actually the toughest thing. I couldn't stick for like more than 3 or 4 days when I was eating bacon and eggs. I just wanted to go to sleep right after. And then switching to vegan diet February 1st, it was like easy. It was almost like seamless. The tofu is great. The oatmeal is good. And then sometimes I have like issues because like during work, I'm on the road, but I don't even feel the need to go to Wendy's to get a burger or anything. I actually like seek out vegan restaurants. So I found some good places in Glenview and Vernon Hills. I stop by and I look forward to trying new things.
How do you
So
feel?
yeah, I feel a lot better. Day to day, I definitely feel more energy, and then definitely a lot more energy during my workouts. Like
Mm.
when I first started the program, the first couple of weeks, I was like, Mike was adding so many workouts per day. I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna get used to this because I was never like routine or structured before. But then I was actually kind of pleasantly surprised how easy it was to do that much volume in my workouts and feel recovered the next day. So.
And what's crazy too is that at the same time you also switched into a big calorie deficit as well,
Yeah.
while at the same time. So which typically is going to lower your energy, and yet you've been hitting PRs left and right, and
Yeah.
losing weight and gaining muscle and feeling good. So
Right.
awesome, man.
I'll go. I mean, mine was I done all the proteins and all, and Mike was like, "What do you think about this?" And I made a cold turkey weekend switch thing. So it was like I flipped over. First month, like you were saying, Joey, the diet, your gut, like it wasn't feeling the best.
The
But
gas
after
is
that
real.
month, yeah, after that month and stuff, it went away. But I've been well over a year, and I'm thinking like, why didn't I go sooner? I mean, it's like you feel like the flavors are better too, and like you said, you can find anything that tastes just like that. And I mean, it's great because you can eat like normally, just it's just a different way of eating it. You can do just like everything else. So,
For sure.
but it's good stuff. Energy's way up there. It's like your mind's clear. You just feel better because you don't have to worry about harming animals, all that stuff. So
Yeah.
What about
I'll go.
Fritz? Yeah, go ahead. Fritz. I was gonna say.
Yeah, it's probably my lifesaver that I went to become all plant-based vegan. Uh, I have no inflammation due to my condition, my autoimmune disease that I have. Uh, I have no pain. I have more endurance. Uh, it's so easy. It's pretty much stupid proof to be vegan now. It's not worrying about anything. It's like probably the best thing I ever did. It helped with all my pain, inflammation. The weight loss is shocked the shit out of me completely. How
Crazy.
fast I was losing weight.
While hitting
Now,
PRs left and right. So
yeah, it's the boost of energy. It feels like speed with the amount of energy I have. Where it's like it does. It feels like you have like a cheat code, a built-in cheat code that nobody else has by being
yeah.
vegan.
Yeah.
There's one issue that you're talking about with the Primal Bros. They do target vegan creators because they actually get paid by the meat industry to make those claims. It's always the same generic cookie cutter response that I saw on Joey and Michaels and everybody else that's vegan promoting. It's, oh, you can't get this, you can't get that, with no backup. It's kind of bots. I consider them bots, those Primal people.
I would
Primal
actually,
Bros.
I'm going to disagree with you there because I think there's a lot of that going on maybe in the media, but as far as the individual
big
social
influencers maybe.
yeah, bigger influencers. I think Fritz, I think that those individuals, the response they're having is due to the cognitive dissonance, right? And I made a video about this kind of where it's like a lot of and the responses are from a lot of like the weaker guys. Like if you click on any of their profile, you can tell they're not very, they're not very masculine. They reside their masculinity in their diet, right? Oh, meat is masculine, meat is high test. And when someone like, I'm bigger, stronger than the average individual and well spoken, confident comes along, proving them wrong with facts and evidence, it immediately hits that narrative. And that's why they have those reactions that they have. And the reason their reactions look all the same, Fritz, is because they're NPC like thinking. And so they'll look whatever the crowd says and they'll just follow along. But you're definitely right.
And then it's easy too, right?
Right.
It's like all the things that we're doing, guys, a lot of things in the method are kind of hard. Being disciplined, getting up instead of scrolling, taking a cold shower, doing your morning routine, going to the gym, being disciplined with your diet, training martial arts, doing SR, resisting lust. All these things are things that are difficult to make you masculine. You know what's not difficult? Putting something in your grocery cart,
Right.
right? Choosing to put meat in your grocery cart instead of a plant-based option. So it's so easy. And then when they have the media that allows them to convince themselves that them putting that thing in their shopping cart makes them more masculine when they're not doing any of these other things really to make them feel more masculine. They attach their sense of masculine identity, like Joe said, with the diet, and therefore when you criticize her, or even in Joe's, you guys see Joe was getting like death threats on his video talking about how soy doesn't decrease estrogen, and people wanted to curb stomp his face because what they feel like he's doing is attacking their sense of masculinity and their direct ego and what they base their confidence on. So that's why they feel such a feeling to lash out and literally want to hurt Joey
It's
because
vitriol. It's too vitriol that I
yeah,
saw the comments and I was just like, sometimes you look and you'd be like, are these real people or just like a matrix program for haters to people doing something that only less than 1% of men are actually doing is being a vegan plant-based. So the true 1% men that says, I don't need this and I'm walking away from the organized NPC thinking and being like, I'm an individual, I think for myself, I'm going to go outside the norm. That's being more manly than following the herd.
For sure.
100,000%.
And where the funding does come, Fritz, is okay, why is the herd say eat meat and why is like 99% of people think it's healthy? That's where the funding comes from. That's where the agenda in the mass media, even in our government, they had like Saladino in the White House promoting stuff and shit. Like he's 100% he's
Still,
100% bought, right? And
Yeah.
his evidence is so weak. I mean, I support his evidence, which is his reasoning, which is eat less processed food. Okay, great. That's his best piece of advice. Everything else is pretty garbage. So yeah. All right. With that being said, let me finish this off, and then we get into winners of the week. So the real world examples, we got me and Mike, right? We've both been plant based for a while. Our life's only gotten better in all the areas we've stated. Live to 100 blue zones. This one's so strong, guys. This one backs this isn't your first use of evidence, but this one backs up all this evidence. This one will say, okay, oh yeah, all this evidence. It makes sense why people who live the longest also eat 90 to 100% plant-based on average, the societies, right? So this is a blue zone documentary I watched where the guy went around, looked at all the blue zones, see what they had in common, right? This one is in the US, is the only US blue zone. Blue zone means people live way longer than the average populations. The reason this is a blue zone is they have Seventh-day Adventists. This is a Christian group. This Christian group is primarily vegan and vegetarian, right? They have a top 5% of vegan and vegetarians, and they have number one in longevity in the U.S. city, right, with pretty much the highest percentage of vegans and vegetarians. So there's that. These are all 90 to 100% plant-based societies as well, with this being their core eatings. Now, that's not the only reason they live a long time. They also have great family lives, very low stress, etc. Good air, but diet plays a huge factor in longevity, right? Okay, and then Kendrick Ferris. This guy is the U.S. record holder in the power clean for his weight class. Name me a more powerful explosive movement than power clean. There isn't one, right? And this guy is vegan, so the strength argument is just completely out the window. This guy essentially it has the most optimal explosiveness in the U.S. for his weight class. Most explosive guy, right? And he's
Long,
vegan.
explosive, everything.
Everything, and he's vegan. So the fact that you can't be optimal just doesn't survive any of the data or the evidence. Okay, guys, that's that. I'm gonna keep doing research. Maybe we'll have another one of these in maybe 6 months from now, or find one more in depth one. But you guys have any questions about any of this stuff before we get into wins of the week? Go ahead.
No, it was very detailed, very enlightening. I definitely appreciate it.
100%.
100% for sure.